No Hair, All Heart podcast. I'm your No Hair host, Mookie Spitz, and the heart that I'm going to focus on today will be my grandma, Olga. She loved me so much while she was also busy terrorizing the world. Matriarchs are built tough by keeping generations of families together. The strongest women rule the roosts in those countries with the most brutal histories and misogynist cultures. Darwinian warriors never mess with these stalwart, apex predator mothers and grandmothers, especially if they survived the Holocaust, 2 emigrations, and their own bratty children. My paternal grandmother, Olga, was such a courageous and contradictory creature. I remember her chain-smoking Kent 100s and never, ever being impatient or mean with me. I was always her little Mookie, or Mookika as she called me. And for me, she was my dearest Mimi. Between us continuing the unspoken but magical tradition of doting grandparents and their beloved grandchildren, adoring each other. Isn't it so true, though, how generations jump? Grandparents and their grandkids, regardless of culture or generation, love each other. I think grandparents are able to pour it on because they're absolved of the responsibility of actually having to raise these brats. And the kids love their grandparents because they're old and unthreatening, and because they sense that these old people are outside the purview of any kind of real discipline or judgment. So it's a wonderful reciprocal relationship, and me and Mimi were no different. Now, how she treated the rest of the family, though, was another story entirely. My kind, sweet, and always warm grandma, referred to by a friend, going all the way back to the old country, wasn't that sweet. She was instead the raging bitch of Buchenwald. An alarming, alliterative, and accurate way of describing her as the cold geriatric terror, happy homewrecker, and all-around pernicious, horrible human being that everyone else knew her as. That unflattering view of Olga has since been corroborated by everyone who has ever known her, whether friend, foe, or family. Irascible, scheming, narcissistic, and destructive, she did her best to make people feel as miserable as possible and masterfully succeeded. Her gift was incessantly talking shit about everyone all the time and pitting relatives and friends against each other. Shh, she hushed me. Not that I was making any sounds at the time. Instead, intimating that she was about to tell me, and only me, something very personal, special, and controversial. Can I tell you a secret? She asked. Of course, I said. I couldn't wait. Don't tell your younger cousins, but I like you much better than them. Olga's confession warmed my heart, made me feel even more adored, and solidified our unique cross-generational bond. Her intimate words confirmed what I had felt all along, that I was the center of the world, and Mimi was my biggest fan and guardian angel. Her secret also helped me give ammo to the fight against my two cousins, Vicky and Debbie. And I grasped at anything to fuel that fray, including Mimi's preferential treatment. Oh, yeah, I shouted, outraged that a toy was taken from me or an ice cream flavor I didn't like was ordered or ketchup got put on the basket of French fries when I preferred mustard. Well, guess what? Mimi told me that she likes me better. Oh, yeah, they retorted, snickering between themselves. All of us in on the same secret, but a different one depending on the audience. You guess what? Mimi told us that she likes us better instead, so there. I was hit by a nuclear blast to the heart and right between the eyes. The universe wasn't only about me and didn't exclusively revolve around me either. Experiences that I considered unique by one of them happening to me took on an unwelcome and unwholesome complexity and dimensionality. Mimi said the same things to them as she did to me. Oh my God. My bubble burst, and from then on I started noticing, even as an elementary schooler, other indicators that Olga wasn't as sweet as the glazed donuts she bought me every Sunday at the bakery. Going shopping with her at the local stores, she would insult nearly everyone near us, her slander going undetected because she hurled the epithets in her native Hungarian. Look at how fat the ass is on that fat-ass woman who just waddled by, she jeered. How the hell did she squeeze her fat ass into that cheap, filthy dress? Oli neni, my mother cautioned her, Hungarian for a lady Olga. You can't say such things in public here in America. And this man here is so ugly, she thoughtfully continued, that I bet he hasn't gotten laid by his wife in 20 years. Syphilis would be considered a trophy. Shh, waved my aunt, not understanding the Hungarian, but hearing her tone and sensing her tsunami of acidic vitriol. That cashier was so stupid that I bet she doesn't even know how to fuck, speculated my dear grandmother. Her personality is like birth control. When the hot, humid Chicago summers hit, and the family finally had enough of Lady Olga, they couldn't wait to ship her off to Budapest for a vacation. From her. The only problem was that once there, she'd forget where she was and continue to insult everyone around her in her own incomprehensible but suddenly clearly understood Hungarian. This fat syphilitic cow should go take a flying fucking leap back into her whorish mother's suggested the 75-year-old woman wearing an orange summer dress and fresh flower hat, immune to consultation back in the United States of America, but rather more exposed there in front of the Parliament building in Budapest. Teyo saguishten, our relatives would freak out, literally shouting, "You good-smelling God," to imply that the omnipotent and omniscient deity had died and started to rot, quickly surrounding her as if they were an EMS team and she were having a myocardial. You can't do that here. After several more stillborn attempts to take the raving bitch of Buchenwald grocery shopping, the solution eventually dawned on even her to change gears. she started insulting the Hungarians around her in English. After a couple weeks full of slip-ups, many no doubt intentional, the new system took hold. "What a porky pig this big cow is," she'd shout, mixing insulting metaphors with a heavy indigenous accent, but getting away with it since back then English was rarely spoken throughout most of Eastern Europe, still the Soviet bloc. All was again right with the world until our Hungarian relatives couldn't stand her any longer either and shipped her back to the States. Forgetting that she had returned to an English-speaking country, she kept insulting everyone around her in English, exacerbated by an unhealthy dose of racism added to her vulgarity, ad hominem attacks, and overt contempt. "How does that Negro daughter of a plumber get pregnant?" she wondered, really wanting to know. "How did that Negro daughter of a plumber get pregnant?" she wondered, really wanting to know. "How did she ever get her filthy pipes cleaned?" "Olga," her American relatives shouted, trying to domesticate this ancient, wrinkly, wild animal. "You can't say these kinds of things here." And sure enough, much to the relief of the neighborhood, a couple weeks later, she'd revert back to her native tongue, slinging the insults in Hungarian anew. A menace to all societies, a few years later, Olga proved that God, good-smelling or not, existed, and our dearest RBB at long last succumbed to complications from bone cancer, her daily pack of Kent 100s catching up to her. I remember visiting her that night at the hospital and sensing that would be the last time. She was hurling insults at the oncology nurse, complaining about the food, and generally being her big, bad Buchenwald self. I thought to myself, preteen that I was, that the time had come for my dearest Mimi to go. She was gone by next morning. Still missing her, I'll never forget how, years before, playing with my cowboys and Indians figurines on the living room table, she lifted up the plastic teepee, slid her smoldering, overflowing ashtray under it, and set the teepee back down, smoke rising out of the top. She was amazing, her bouffant of white hair billowing, her brown eyes blazing, her salacious and incendiary wit crackling, a force of good with her little Mookie, while being a cataclysmic Olgopolis to everyone else, and Olga Mageddon that flattened entire communities like some plague of Egypt in her caustic, vindictive wake. Far as I know, her ancestry could be traced back to Poland, winding up in Hungary, persecuted and exiled Jews every step of their Eastern European way. Surviving the war thanks to my grandfather's business partner hiding the family in their basement, among countless unlikely events and experiences, the family eventually emigrated to Caracas, Venezuela, where she summarily lost her husband. After the death of their family patriarch, my father Laszlo took over with determination and hard work, supporting his mother and younger brother. My father eventually ran a lucrative furniture factory, bought a 1957 Ford Thunderbird convertible, dated European émigré women until swooping up and marrying my mother, who came with a teenage daughter attached. For a while, they lived together in Caracas, and Olga talked shit about them all, too, pitting one against the other like she later enjoyed with the expanded family in suburban Chicago. Happy when everyone else was miserable, the raging bitch of Buchenwald did the best she could and made a new and happy life for herself. But what I'll never forget, in a gesture that transcended even her favored treatment of me, is how she was the only one to ever tell me that my mother was sick and I should treat her nicely too. Suffering from postpartum depression since I was born, she struggled. Olga suggested, sweetly, without judgment or blame, that I should be understanding and kind. Somehow, such caring and empathy cut through Olga's vicious exterior. Our loving rapport as grandma and grandson no doubt greased the wheels, yet in retrospect, I think more was going on. Olga perhaps recognizing that my mother's mental illness was even more effective at wreaking havoc than Granny's most acerbic insults or ruthless gossip. Touché. Life was tough for Olga, and Olga was tougher. As the Yiddish proverb goes, the more you complain, the longer God lets you live. Talking shit was her catharsis, perhaps, although more likely a product feature of being born a bitch, who then spawned two assholes in the form of my father and uncle. As her cute little Mookie, I was forever near and dear to her, and as my donut-buying, teepee smoldering, and loving granny, she will always be my Mimi. I hope you enjoyed this little tale from Eastern Europe to South America to America's Middle East, as my father used to say, the Midwest, where I grew up. And I'm sure you could relate, as your own family is no doubt ripe with a personality a lot like Olga's. Maybe it's your personality. Maybe it's your grandparents' personality. But characters like Olga and their stories live long past the people and the joy and the suffering that they had wrought. Thank you for listening to the No Hair All Heart podcast.